time he's exactly going to be here. So anyway, let's get this thing going. You ready there, England?
I am US.
All right. 3,
2, 1.
All right, welcome back once again. The Bonding Podcast with Mark and Andy. We're discussing the great, or is it great, Thunderball. Doesn't quite live up to Goldfinger, would you say, Mark?
No, Goldfinger set the benchmark. Thunderball's a slight notch down. I mean, it's got lots in it.
So are we in am I up in for, since I'm watching them in order, am I in for a little bit of a letdown as I go until when does it pick up? When's the next good one that I'm like, oh, that was worth watching?
Thunderball's great. There's a very long battle at the end underwater. It's the good guys against the bad guys, and it goes on for a very long time. And
I made a note of that, a little long on that scene.
Yeah, it goes on for quite a while, and you're like, well, which they're quite helpfully. I think the bad guys are wearing black wetsuits, and the good guys are wearing orange ones. Bond's wearing an orange one.
Yeah,
I know that.
This is like this here. This is the battle.
That gets a bit tedious at the end, and then the one afterwards, You Only Live Twice, is all set in Japan, and Connery's getting a bit bored with it all by this point. You could see it, and then of course he leaves, and then you've got George Lazenby with On Her Majesty's Secret Service in '69. So I mean, that's a great film, but yeah, it does get a bit silly in Thunderball.
Well, I mean, in saying that, it's still a really enjoyable film.
Oh yeah, it's great. It's got some great action in it, some great stunts, some great lines. Connery looks top of his game.
I was up, like I said, I was up late. I couldn't sleep today, so I was up at 2 a.m, and I put this in fresh to watch it so we could talk about it. And it's over 2 hours long, but it didn't feel like 2 hours. But I mean, again, the one fight scene was long, and we'll talk about it when we get to it. But let's go back again, because one of the things that I'm finding so far in the first few films that these things are known for, these grand scenery. So I'm going to talk briefly about it's MI6's conference room. Is that what I'm talking about?
Their operations room. Yeah.
And this thing looks like
in Whitehall, back in London.
It looks like a damn cathedral. It is. It is massive, and it's housing. I mean, there's a little tiny table where M and a few of his people are there. The bosses are sitting, and then all of your agents are sitting in a semicircle across from them, waiting to get their dossier. And I was like, did you need such a massive room for this meeting you're having?
It's all spectacle, and it's Bond. There's a great story, because Thunderball comes out in '65. Goldfinger was 64, and that's what sort of started the spy mania trend. And then you've got The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and all the rest of it. There was apparently the plan when they have that scene and the camera pulls back and there's 9 chairs for all the 00 agents, and the number 7 is the empty chair, and Connery he's late, and he walks across it and sits down, so he's obviously 007. Apparently the plan was they were going to have like cameo appearances from all the other sort of famous secret agents. So Napoleon Solo was going to be there, Ilya Kuryakin was going to be there, Peter Flint was going to be there. They were going to have other spies from other movies in it, but it didn't come off. But apparently that's what the plan was originally.
Oh, that would have been really something to see. That would have been cool. Yeah, so again, so you and I both kind of talk about little, I don't know, I say continuity errors, but little just things that make you scratch your head as you're watching these films. And it takes away from the scene a little bit when they raise up, they're showing them the map of what's going on. So they got a big map of the world and like a sonar thing or whatever.
So where's the flight? What's the distance that the Vulcan?
The distance where, if you watch, and this is I'll say it's a nuisance that I have when I watch films. I just watch for things like this, and I don't like to. But it's like you said about the whole jetpack, that would have been too hot to handle.
It would.
Same type of observation. The way this room is set up and where that screen was, only like half of the 00 agents could actually have seen the screen.
Oh, okay, all right.
Because it's in a semicircle and it's against one wall. I was like, I would have been like, could I just lean over just a minute because I
It
can't
looks
see
great,
what
but
you're
not
talking about.
looks great, but not very functional.
Not at all, not at all. So, but God, but just a massive set. It reminded me of the massive scene of Doctor No, the chess room.
Chess room, yeah.
Just the same type of grandiose, over the top, and again, that's all Ken
Again, you
Adams.
got your man Terrence Young's back, same sort of same style.
Yeah, well, and Ken Adams just really. I was watching a little doc about him and about the movie, and when he was talking about designing the submarines, the underwater scenes and stuff, and he found a guy who did submarine work. He was an expert, which he goes, I didn't know there was such a thing, but I found one. And he said, could you build this? And the guy's like, we can build anything you can design. And he said, once I had those words said to me, he's like, I let my mind just run. And he goes, that includes sets, because I started realizing that there really is no limit to what I can create, because we're getting better with technology, and we're able to just build sets in these massive, and of course the budget that Bond has, he can do whatever he wants. And he
There's
did.
9 million, so they have plenty of money to throw around, and you can see it on the screen. There's so much going on. There's lots going on.
Yeah, and I love the fact that they shoot, and I'm assuming this is Fleming's idea, that a lot of so far the movies end up in some nice tropical area. This is in the Bahamas. The first one was at Jamaica.
Thunderball looks great. It's all beautiful, clear blue water and swimming, and it's nice. It looks great.
So let's go to, they talk about, they play the tape of the demands from Emilio Largo.
Oh yeah, Blofeld sent him a message, isn't he? Demanding, is it 100 million in uncut diamonds?
100 million pounds sterling.
That's okay.
So we will have to do quick math, and I'll put it at the bottom of the screen of what that turns out to be in modern day, $2023. That has to be a shit ton of money.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
And that demand is because they've taken 2 nuclear bombs.
2 nuclear bombs.
Their plan is to aim them at either, they don't know for sure, either major U.S. city or a major European city.
Detonate them anywhere in the world.
Yeah. Which again, I saw in the documentary, they talked about they didn't know what nuclear bombs look like. The production staff. The same person who allowed them to help them out with in the U.S. military with Fort Knox,
all right,
helped them out with kind of letting them come on and kind of see what bombs look like, and they had a hidden camera. They took some pictures.
Oh, okay.
So they had some idea what a nuclear bomb would look like. It wasn't exact, of course, and all that, but the next thing. So we cut to this is where my notes take me. It's Bond. They're in M's office. Bond and this military attaché from I think it's Canada, because they were going to send Bond to Canada.
Yeah, they're sending all the different 00 agents out anywhere they think this plane could have landed.
And of course, Bond's like, you should send me
Canada, and he says respectfully, no, sir, it should be the Bahamas. M says because it's that picture of the beautiful girl, but she turns out to be the sister of the pilot. That's
which again works out. But so the thing I said this before is how flippant they are about death. When Bond says to the guy, no, that guy is dead, and the guy's like, no, he's not, and then M's like, if Bond says he's dead, I believe it. That's enough for me.
Because the pilot, Count Lippy, the one that's killed the pilot, he's got the dead body at Shrublands. That's why Bond knows it's all going off, because Bond has seen the dead pilot's the picture, and he's seen the guy in Shrublands, and he was dead the night before. So it's like, well, what's all this? And his sister, Domino Duval, is out in Nassau. So he says, respectfully, I should go and speak to her.
Well, and she, again, speaking of stunning women,
Claudine Auger, she's quite stunning. As
she
Domino.
Was, easy on the eyes, and I believe she was a Miss France, if I remember correctly. That
more than likely.
Is that correct? Because I think her audio was dubbed.
Yeah,
they had a voiceover actor do her voice, but yeah, just how flippant the guy is. Like, well, he must have. If he's dead, he's dead. There's nothing. Well, moving on. It's no. How did he die? Let's. This guy's a pilot. We need to get secret. No, he's just dead.
He's dead.
We have to move the story forward, sir. Good day.
So Bond flies off to Nassau.
Well, so let's not forget Miss Moneypenny.
Oh.
So they're in the office, and I love this line. I stopped the film to write it down. Moneypenny's talking to James and referring to the girl in the picture, and she says, "How will you recognize her?"
Oh, the 2 moles. Yeah.
Bond goes, "She has 2 moles on her thighs,"
That's
and
right.
he raises his eyebrows and closes the door.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, that rascal!" And
He's got it. He's got all the moves, all the lines.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and I just enjoyed it. So then we cut to the scene where Bond is in the Bahamas now. He's diving underwater with the one girl. He has to bump into her, so he does.
Well, he arranges to accidentally bump into Domino while she's scuba diving. She gets her foot trapped, and he helps her out, doesn't he?
Yeah, he gets her out, and she gets up there, and of course he has to sabotage the boat he's in because he needs to bum a ride back. So what I thought was funny is, as he says to her, "I need a ride." Well, she says, "I'm not with you," and he says, "You soon will be."
You soon will be. Yeah. She has
lunch
with him, doesn't she? And then
"I need a ride. I need a ride back. Our boat's not starting. Can you give me a ride back? I have an important appointment I have to attend to." She's like, "Sure." Cut to he's having lunch with her at the poolside, and I'm like, does she not go, "Where's the appointment at?"
And she's on the boat
working
with Emil Largo. She's his squeeze. She's the sister of the pilot, and she's also on Largo's boat.
The mistress, the niece, as he calls her. I just, it's funny that no one ever asked these questions. Like, I thought you had an appointment to go to, but whatever. So they cut to the when they're in the casino playing cards. Do you know what that card game is they're playing by chance? I don't know if you recall.
I think that's Chemin de Fer, or is it Baccarat? And you've got to get a total of 9.
I think it's 9. Yes.
Yeah, you've got to get a total of 9. So you get given 2 cards, and you've got to make a total of 9. So you can ask for another card, or you might go bust or something. But you've got to hit a true 9 or something.
Okay, because I was watching
Chemin de Fer, I think it's called.
And they're using these giant chips, and they use this paddle to scoop it up, and it's all moving so fast. And I'm not a gambler of any sort of the imagination.
No, I mean, no.
I'm fascinated because it's like he just sits down. I was like, what is this game? Like, it's not poker, which is what over here. Poker is a really big thing in America. I don't know what
it's. I'm sure. I think it's Baccarat or Chemin de Fer. But the whole point of the game is you've got to get on the turn of a card. You've got to get a total of 9 out of 3 cards, I think.
Yeah, because I remember at one point in time he says 9 or something. I think
just
right, or
7. He's got a 9, he wins. Yeah.
All right, that solves that problem. I was curious. Not that I was losing sleep over it, but just curious what the card game was, because it seems like they were playing something similar in Dr. No.
Yeah, I think they were. That's right.
When they first meet Bond, it's a similar, if not the exact same game. I don't know. Maybe it's something that
you've got to get a count of 9. Not like poker.
It took me a while to figure out. So you see this. You see this gentleman in the background on the beach and in the casino and everywhere else in a suit and sunglasses.
Oh, the henchman. What's his name?
Well, it ends up being Felix.
Oh, Felix. Yeah, Rick Van Nutter. So it's another new Felix. It's another different actor. So Jack Law played Felix in Dr. No. He wasn't in From Russia with Love. He was another guy in Goldfinger, and now it's Rick Van Nutter, who's completely different. Tall, thin, shock of silver hair.
Yeah, and he's just always in the background. Then when he comes into play and he helps Bond. That way, you're introduced to him when Bond's back in his hotel room, and he opens the door to the guy wearing sunglasses. And I'm trying to think, like, who is this guy? It's like, oh, and then Bond cracks him in the gut because there's a guy standing in a shower, and Bond knows he's there.
The thing about that is when Felix turns up at Bond's door and James knows that there's a bad guy in the bathroom listening, waiting for him, he thumps Felix in the stomach to stop him saying, "Oh, hi there, 007." But then when he beats the guy up and throws him out of the bathroom, he says in front of the guy, that the bad guy says, "Well, you were just about to call me 007." He said, "Well, hang on, you've just said it then." But anyway,
exactly.
Small point.
Exactly. But that's when you find out that he is not a foe; he is a friend. And I was like,
That's
oh, that's
Felix.
the CIA connection. Okay, I'm a little dense sometimes there.
But you wouldn't know because it's a brand new Felix. So.
Well, so that's the thing. I didn't recognize it, and this is your first introduction to him. But I noticed he stuck out because, like, why is this guy? He's on the beach in a suit. Everyone else is in a bathing suit. He's in a suit and sunglasses. We stick out like a sore thumb. Bond just moves on and acts like he's not there. I love and I would long to find a hotel that had hotel rooms the size of the ones that they had in the
Oh
Bahamas.
yeah, he's got a lovely room. Yeah,
I'm sure it's a set, but man, what a hotel room that was.
mm.
That was kind of fun. And of course, the tape recorder book, I skipped over that, but that's how Bond.
Oh yeah, he's got a miniature tape recorder inside a hollowed out book. So if anybody comes into the room, Bond
It's
just goes, he replays the tape. He hears the footprints going across the room into the bathroom, so he knows he's in there. It's quite clever.
The camera moves along and he's counting the steps and
Yeah,
very, very cool. I mean, he didn't sweep his room for bugs like he did in the other movies, but he does have a tape
simple but
recorder
clever.
sitting there. We then go to the estate, the Palmyra estate. He's
Where
invited
Emilio
to
Largo
lunch.
lives. Palmyra, it's called. Yeah.
Yeah, he's invited to lunch from Emilio, and he shows up there. Then we see the pool of sharks, which is fascinating.
Again, Austin Powers ruined this sort of thing, but back in the day, a villain with a pool of sharks, it was quite a glamorous, thing to have. But it's kind of lost its dangerous appeal now. It is insane. It's bonkers.
And there's a scene where the henchman who doesn't kill Bond, he shows up back at the estate and he asks what happened.
He's failed, so he's got to go.
So
they just callously throw him in the pool with all the sharks. Yeah.
Again, they have zero regard for human life.
Spectre, the worst of the worst.
They are. They're just monsters. So I notice we get to real quick a little side note of the stuntman who did that bit being thrown into the pool of sharks. He told me he wanted an extra $250.
What to be thrown in
to land on the shark. If you remember the scene, he lands on a shark and then he swims away. Of course, he doesn't. He gets killed. But the scene, he was getting paid like $100 a stunt or something. He's like, if you want me to land on that shark, you're gonna pay me.
I want a bit more cash
because it's dangerous.
Quite right. Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter even it's not like you got a dog you can train. It's a shark. Its only goal in life is to swim and kill things.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't want to be in a pool of sharks.
So we have Bond sneaking around the estate. He's kind of doing his spy work. He's not quite there yet. I skipped over. I jumped forward with the lunch thing. He wasn't quite there for lunch yet, and he's escaping from this maze. He gets found out. There's a gunfight, and he runs out onto a street, a road, and of course here comes a Ford Mustang, flying by, and he gets in the car with her, asks if she can take him to Nassau.
Well, it's Fiona Volpe,
exactly.
Emilio Largo's henchwoman, beautiful redhead. She's the woman that's killed she's given the pilot his instructions, and she's out on the road and picks Bond up. She knows who he is, but he doesn't know who she is.
And they've taken Domino too. Or is it Domino? I believe it is.
Yeah, she's back on board the yacht.
They've got her anyway. So he gets in the car with her and notices she's wearing this gaudy giant Spectre ring.
That's right. Yeah, they've all got these Spectre rings. Kind of gives them away, really, doesn't it?
It kind of does. Like if you're trying to be a secret spy ring.
She gives him a lift and tries to scare the hell out of him by going 100 miles an hour down this quiet little country road and ends up back at their hotel.
Coincidentally.
And of course, she ends up in bed with him. What a surprise.
Well, I mean, who doesn't, right? So they end up in bed. They do all that. And now that's when he gets to the well, he says to her at the end of it, after they have they have the sex, they do all their thing, and then he goes to leave, and of course her henchmen friends are there,
standing outside the door waiting for him.
He turns to her and he says, he looks at her and she goes, she says something.
She says a very good line about, "Oh, I'm not falling for the old Bond charm. Not going to hear
Yeah.
the wings of angels just because I've kissed you and you've turned me to the good side. She's a full-on villain, is Fiona.
Yeah, and he looks at her and he goes, "What I did was for king and country."
King and country, yeah.
Referring to that, there was no
You don't
pleasure
think it
for
gave
him.
me any pleasure, do you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did what I had to do for the
Yeah.
king, for king and country. So I like that. They take Bond. They're trying to take him back. He escapes. They ends up running to the what's called the Kiss Kiss Club.
Well, there's a big thing going. What's it called? The Junkanoo. There's a big street carnival going
Yeah,
on.
the parade. He escapes out of there,
parade.
runs through the parade. He hides in a float. I mentioned the Kiss Kiss Club just because I wanted to say the words "kiss" on our podcast.
Kiss, kiss, bang, bang.
Which lends to the song that they wrote. The note I have for that, and we're getting kind of close to wrapping up the film here, was the guy reaches in. There's a henchman who's going to shoot at Bond, and he shoots and kills the lady, but no one hears the gunshot.
Oh, he tries to time it with the drums or something.
Yeah, he times it. Yeah. The drums are just maddening. It's just the heart,
mad bongo drums,
and he turns around right in time for her to take a shot in the back. And misses his hand completely, but luckily he's holding it where she's bleeding. Yeah. And he just sits her down at the table and like, oh, she's dead tonight.
Tired. Yeah, she's dead tired.
He just leaves. I fucking love it. So let's cut to they are out over the ocean looking for the wreckage, the plane, I guess.
The bomber that they
something.
Sunk.
And Bond needs to get into the water. They're in the helicopter. They land it. Bond sees something. Felix, he has Felix shoot and kill a shark.
That's right, to distract the other so he can swim down and have a look at the sunken Vulcan bomber.
Just like it was nothing, like distraction. Pulls a rifle out, shoots shark. Shark sinks to the bottom, and there's a feeding frenzy. And Bond, of course, is free to go down and discover the bomber plane underneath.
With Domino's dead brother inside it.
Pointing the things out. And he pulls off his ID tag. We call them dog tags over here. I think they called it his badge. And takes his watch. That leads us to the next thing I've got is the underwater fight scene, which they're trying to get the bombs. I don't know where were they taking them to the yacht. Is that where they're heading to?
They've taken one to the yacht and one's been hidden underwater.
Yeah.
So Bond's got a Geiger counter. On his watch, and he figures out where the bombs are, but he gets trapped in the underground cave where one of the bombs is hidden. He doesn't get out in time, so Felix has to come and find him, tracks him down, and winches him out
because he swallows the pill that
he's got a radioactive tracking pill. So Felix comes and finds him because he couldn't get out of the cave quick enough.
Yeah,
and they've discovered that one bomb's in Washington, and the other one is where's the other one? Yeah, one bomb's been in Washington, and Bond's got the other one on the Disco Volante.
Disco Volante, yeah. Well, and
which is boat, Italian for flying saucer, apparently.
Yes.
Disco Volante.
And I did not see the yacht splitting apart.
The boat splitting is amazing. Yeah, it's very good. And a real life boat. They did it all. It's all completely real.
Yeah. When that scene happened, I was like, oh my God, I love this.
It looks like a massive sort of luxury yacht, and then it splits in half and becomes
a hydrofoil,
super fast hydrofoil, and yeah, it's very good. It's a very cool effect. Very good scene. Yeah.
So we got that going, and now the boat splits, and they're doing all this stuff. Again, we talk about the underwater fight scene, and it's a little long. They're beating you over the head with it. It's a good scene.
I mean, it's great that they're filming it, and it's impressive and everything, but it goes on too long. After a while, you can't figure out who's fighting who, what's going on. It gets too much.
Yeah, it just gets to the point where like, okay, move on. Let's move on. Okay, got it. So that Bond. So we get to the again. Bond gets into the boat. There's a fight scene. He knocks everybody out. He kills people. The boat is heading towards the rocks, and they jump
super fast. That at the end of the film, it's sped up so quickly. It does look a bit daft because this boat's going like this, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you see the screen behind him and all that.
It's all blue. It's a little bit blue screen there. Yeah.
Yeah, they talked in the documentary about how it's Terrence Young said that I believe the scenes we shot at Pinewood were rougher than the actual scenes on the water because the way they were moving the boat on the jigs and stuff.
Yeah, it doesn't quite work.
But they did that. They jump off the plane or off the boat, and a seaplane goes by, drops a life raft into the water for Bond and Domino. They get it hooked up.
Skyhook, which at the time was a revolutionary device or something. You can actually, it did actually work.
Yeah, so they have the Skyhook rescue,
balloon, and then the plane comes along with a thing and flies you away.
Now, my only note on that, of course, and that's how the film ends. Again, once again, Bond ends in the water with a woman.
End up in the water with a beautiful dame.
But my thought when I saw that, I was like, that would have to just about kill you.
Well, the snap, yeah,
at the speed the plane is going, it's hooked to Bond's back of his wetsuit.
The whiplash of it.
Wouldn't it just, I mean, flip you up into the?
Yeah, it's going to be quite a shock to the system. Yeah,
I mean, it has to be, right?
It does work. It's a true thing, true device.
It was a real thing. I think
U.S. Navy uses it.
Yeah, they don't use it much now, but it was used at the time. Now it's all helicopters and whatnot. And then the film ends, and we end with Bond once again saves the world
from nuclear devastation once again for those pesky Spectre bad guys.
Yeah, I mean, Spectre's just got to really hate him at this point.
Yeah.
Like they got to get him. They got to eliminate him at some point in time. Like, this has got to stop. We're spending money. We're losing money. You're killing us here.
It's this damn Bond guy. But again, like you said at the beginning, Spectre, the whole legal lawsuit behind Thunderball meant that the Bond producers couldn't use Spectre for many years. I think, many years. You'll see none of the Roger Moore Bond movies reference Spectre in any way. They weren't allowed to.
So that's what I meant. I think I was going to ask you that. Is Spectre ongoing, or is it come and go because of, I know the legal reason, but in theory, Spectre would be
Spectre's featured in all the Connery movies except Goldfinger. And then after that, when Roger Moore, George Lazenby does On Her Majesty's, Blofeld's in that. But then after that, the Roger Moore movies don't reference Spectre at all. They couldn't. They weren't allowed to. There was this big legal battle going on. There was a story that the 1977 Roger Moore movie, The Spy Who Loved Me, was going to have a Spectre base being taken over by lots of different terrorist organizations, and then they were going to hijack some nuclear weapons, but they couldn't use the Spectre name, so it ended up being Stromberg, Kurt Jurgens.
Okay.
So, but the legal dispute over the rights to Thunderball went on for many years.
All right, let's take a breather here. We're going to jump right into we're just going to wrap up a few things here. Let me read you just some fascinating facts, and you can, if you got a story or anything you want to add, and then we can wrap this thing up. We touched on, so my notes, I think there's 10 little things I got here. We touched on it that it started as a film, then became a book, then became a film again. I mentioned earlier that Terrence Young was not the original director, but it was Hamilton. They wanted Hamilton, but he was exhausted and said he needed a rest, and they just moved on.
It was Terrence Young's last Bond movie. He didn't direct another one after this.
Yeah, they were trying to get this film out by Christmas, I believe, was the goal, and so that's why their time frame, they couldn't wait on Guy Hamilton. Some of the actresses, do you know who was supposed to be Domino D'Urville?
Julie Christie, wasn't it, or something?
So we have Julie Christie. They have Raquel.
Lovely, but apparently Broccoli didn't rate her or something.
Right.
Faye Dunaway was up for it as well at one point, I think.
Raquel Welch.
Oh, yeah, they wanted Raquel Welch, but she couldn't do it.
And they end up, what I'd read about Raquel Welch is she had just been signed to do another movie, and the studio wouldn't let her do both. They wouldn't release her to do the other one, to do the Bond film. So anyway, Claudine Auger got it. Got
the nod.
Yes. We talked, the jetpack really did work.
Yeah, it did.
But the pilot would not fly without a helmet. The chase scene that nearly killed a stuntman is one of my next notes. For the scene in which Fiona Volpe uses rockets launched from a motorcycle to blow up Count Lippes. Am I reading
Count Lippes, yeah, because he's chasing Bond's leaving shrublands in the Aston, and this car comes up behind him, looks like trouble, and then the car that he thinks is about to attack him gets blown up by a motorcycle that drives past, and it's Fiona Volpe on it. But you're right, the guy that drove I think it was Bob Simmons, the
Bob
usual
Simmons, yeah.
Bob Simmons, the usual stuntman. He's driving the car, which explodes. It was all packed with gasoline at the back or something, the boot.
Yes.
And he didn't get out of it quite quick enough. I think he got a little bit burnt. Yeah.
They said he leapt out of the car as it crashed into the ditch, and then
Right.
then he seemed to disappear, and the crew was frantically, I'm sorry, searching for him, and he walked up behind the director and asked him if he'd done the scene right.
Mm.
They said footage from a later angle actually showed him he was on fire. He caught up a
Yeah,
little
he
bit.
didn't get out quick enough.
He got off. He clearly was okay, but he was on fire as he rolled away from the car. It's crazy. These guys are nuts, man. There's a story. I saw this in a documentary, and it's mentioned here in my little notes that the British military actually thought that the Bond's miniature oxygen tank
Oh, the
was real.
rebreather. Yeah, the rebreather. Yeah.
Yeah, and when they contacted the engineers and asked them, like, how does that work? How long does he really have to breathe? And the guy had to tell him, like, that doesn't work.
Let's make that. You have
It
to
only
hold your
works for
breath
as long
for
as you can
5
hold your
minutes.
breath.
Mm.
So that was a good time. Let's see. It says 3 people narrowly escaped shark attacks. I know Connery.
Well, there's a story about Connery was supposed to be in a scene with the shark, and he said not likely. So they put perspex panels between him and the shark in the
Yes.
water, and it wasn't long enough, and the shark managed to get onto his side.
Yeah, they said that if
And
you
he
look
moved
at
very quickly to get out.
if you watch the scene where the shark is going through the tunnel and you see Connery react to it because it's so close to him, they say is a
That's for
genuine
real.
reaction.
Mm.
And they joked, they said Connery, by the time he got out of the water, he was dry.
Yeah, yeah, I
That's
can
how
imagine.
fast he moved.
Mm.
Then there's a note that the big explosion at the end with the boat when the yacht explodes was one of the biggest in cinematic history at the time.
That's right. It blew out all the windows in the nearby town, and yeah, it was huge explosion.
It says windows along Bay Street, which is 30 miles away in Nassau, when the explosion occurred, blew windows out.
I mean, 30 miles, that's a hell of a distance to blow a window.
How much explosive did they use?
Yeah.
And then the last thing I'll mention here, and we can go and kind of wrap this one up, is that Connery didn't go to any of the premieres because the fans were so enthusiastic.
Yeah, he was getting a bit fed up with all the fame, wasn't he?
Yeah, he said he just couldn't do it anymore. It was just insanity. And I mean, I imagine the frenzy. It just had to be just lunacy.
Well, I think when he went to the Goldfinger premiere, I think it was in Paris, not London. I think it was Paris, and he drove that's right. He drove the Aston Martin down the Champs-Élysées to the cinema, and somebody got in some crazed female fan got in the car with him, and it was getting out of hand by that point. It's like
they showed
Beatlemania again.
Yeah, they showed a picture of a fan, like, she dove into the passenger side of the car, and like she's laying across his lap. It's I can't even imagine that kind of just craziness at the time. Like, it just had to be. And then, of course, the documentary I showed, and I'll try to show some of them here in the podcast. The frenzy, the toys that were being manufactured for this mania that just. I mean, I guess it was peaking at this time, or had already peaked at this time.
65 when Thunderball came out. It's all going crazy. Bomb mania, all the different copycat spy TV shows and films. Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, good times.
Good times if you were alive.
Yeah, we were just a little too young, Mark. I wasn't
quite arrived yet.
We weren't there for a couple more years.
No, a couple more years.
Well, I think that's all I've got, Mark. Is there anything else you want to add to this Thunderball?
I think we covered most of it. It's a great film. I like Thunderball. It's all right. It's got its moment, but it is very long, and the fight underwater at the end does get a bit much.
Let me see where our movie phone ranks Thunderball. Where do you think it ranks?
I'd say it's like 3 or 4, something like that.
It's got it at number 6, according to Movie Phone. Now, again, this isn't anything official; just the one I found, the one that ranked all the films. Thunderball is ranked number 6. Their little note under it says, while it doesn't reach the heights of 1964's Goldfinger, Thunderball is a rock-solid Sean Connery Bond movie, which, of course, makes it one of the better entries in the franchise.
Yeah,
Among other strengths, this film boasts a great Bond girl and some revolutionary, if slightly drawn-out, underwater action scenes, which we all tend to agree on.
Yeah.
So...
No, it's a
Well,
good film. It's great stuff. It's good plot. Connery is looking great. It's a good film.
Well, that's it for Thunderball. What is my next film, Mark? What's next in the series?
You Only Live Twice, 1967. Bond goes to Japan.
You Only Live Twice.
It was a great big volcano. Rockets are being stolen.
And what's your initial thoughts on this one before
I don't mind it. It's all right. I mean, it's set all in Japan, so it's all in one place. It's got some good moments in it, but it's not one of my favorites.
You're just waiting for us to get to Roger Moore, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm waiting for Rog
and George.
George is good. That's a great film, but Roger's my man.
And we're going to give George some love. We're going to break down the film, and we're also going to talk about the documentary Becoming Bond that was about him.
Yeah, we should.
I want to give him his credit, give him his due. Well, that's all I got, Mark. Thank you once again.
Okay, dude.
My partner, Nashville. And I'll see everybody later. Thanks for watching us. We're out.
We're out.
This has been a Touch of Madness production, brought to you by the creative minds at Tommy Twins Media.